Yeah? Yes. So we're going to be up here. So you can pick wherever you'd like. If you want a chair. No? All right, then you'll stand. Yeah. Put Rebecca right over there. What's she playing? She's playing Sunrise. Sunrise, Sunset. Thank you. I'm all day long. And she knows. And I'm surrounded by it. And there's no pedal. Do we? Yeah, I feel pretty good. Doing all right. Hanging it. Yeah, yeah. Where's the third of the
Exactly there. Yeah. The stickers are good. Stick with the more or less where the stickers are.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. John? I mean, I don't want to say that into the microphone, but something like that. Yeah, I'm Shamu, and he's. Thank you. I heard it. Do we have a music stand? In fact, we do. We have many music stands. I will grab one for you.
How you doing? I'm good. I'm excited to play. It's a beautiful tradition. Shana Tova, everybody. We're about to get started and to kick off our pre-Rosh Hashanah musical program. I will note, even before we start, just a number of absences this year. First of all is Kenner Chomsky. This is, I think, the congregation's first high holidays without Kenner Chomsky in 38 years, maybe, almost 40 years. And his absence, I know, will be very much felt and missed. Also the choir, which normally would have a starring role in the pre-Rosh Hashanah musical program. We had hoped to have the choir be a part of our program this year and had even begun some rehearsals, but as Delta ramped up, we had to cancel the choir portion, not only of the pre-show, but also of the entire holidays. So we're grateful for our choir members for the work they put in, both this year and every year, and maybe next year. There are also a number of children that were supposed to be performing with us tonight. And again, unfortunately, as our plans changed and as we decided that it was in everyone's best interest for safety to not have unvaccinated children in the building, that meant that our performers under 12 could not join us. So there's just a lot of loss, and I know we're entering into this Rosh Hashanah with a lot of a sense of what we wish we could have had and what we wanted, what we planned for. And that's okay, and I don't want to deny that. But we also have this opportunity to be both together and virtually together and to celebrate what we do have, to celebrate the ways we can come together. And so I'm excited to be able to do that with you this afternoon.
And,
so
you're still here.
And
I said, and you're still here.
And I'm still here.
And I'm still here.
That's true.
So that's good. So
there were times when I wasn't quite sure. But So with that, we'll call up Martha and Rebecca Tepper to kick off our musical program. They've been a part of our program for many years now, I think at least the last 5 years, which have been my last 5 Rosh Hashanahs. And they'll be playing Sunrise, Sunset.
Why don't you, maybe right up there, so you see you. You're the star of the show. Actually, do I put it on the podium? Yeah, that works. You want to do that?
Okay.
You want to?
That was beautiful. I was just thinking, I had a conversation with a member of the congregation just before they came up, and they were saying, we've seen I've seen Rebecca play the last 5 years, and every year she's grown in her playing a little bit, and I only get, and many of us get just a little snapshot of your violin skills once a year, and to see the growth and development and the maturity of your playing over time is really a very special treat. So thank you for continuing to play so beautifully. Also, just a pleasure to have you up on the bima, to be performing together, to be singing together. And I remember at least 3 or 4 years ago now, I said to Martha, I'm interested in picking up guitar. Do you have any tips? And she's like, I have this guitar, lying around. I can give you a spare. And that was the beginning of me learning guitar. So just very glad to have you up here on the bima and to be sharing this this entryway into Rosh Hashanah with you guys, and looking forward to a more musical 5782. All right, so our next performer, Diane Peters. She'll be performing a rendition of Avinu Malkeinu.
This has been a year, hasn't it? Deep breath. I'm sorry, I have been weepy all day. I don't know why. It's just been weepy. The world just seems to be a chaos right now. There are fires out west. There's hurricanes and flooding in the east. The trouble in Israel seems to have died down, but nobody knows for how long. Tensions are high in the Middle East. People are dying and are suffering. There's a virus that keeps going around and mutating, killing the vulnerable. And yet here we are, as our faith commands us. We come again asking God for a new year, for a good year, for our names to be written in the book of life. I've not been so good this year. I've failed in so many ways I can't even count them. Yet here I am, asking, hoping, and believing. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Katanu Lafaneka. Avinu Malkeinu, Kamo Aleinu, Viata Loleinu, Vitabeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, V'Karera. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kosta, Umastin, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kodveinu, Misefer Kayim Tovim. Avinu
Ooh, wow. Very, very powerful, very beautiful. Thank you. Again, bringing that well-known and ancient part of our liturgy to life in a very powerful way with your introduction, and sung with such beauty and such emotion. So we're going to, it's hard to follow that, I got to say. But Rabbi Skolnick and I are going to sort of take the next few minutes or so to teach and sing some of the melodies that will be part of our service, some of which are a little newer, some of which maybe you'll recognize from the downstairs service, some of which are totally new for this year. And we hope that you would just sort of take this opportunity to learn and listen and sing with us as we enter into the new year. So I'm going to go grab my guitar.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to say the other night at Slichot. First of all, welcome to everybody, and thank you to our incredible performers this evening for beginning our high holidays so beautifully. But I had the opportunity to say last Saturday night at Slichot that one of the interesting balances of prayer and of singing, especially in the ways that I love to be part of a service, is hearing tunes and hearing melodies in moments that you don't expect them, and then thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, where do I know this melody from? I think I rocked Rabbi Braver's spiritual world when I pointed out that a classic tune that we use in the Kedusha on Shabbat morning, is actually
Don't say it, don't say it. Does anyone know what that is?
Well, yeah.
There we go.
Right. Exactly. It's Shalom Aleichem, right? And that is the quintessential example of using, thank you, of using a melody from one place and hearing it in another, having multiple associations with it. The downstairs alternative minyan is one more thing about this year that is different, but bringing some of those melodies to our main sanctuary service is going to be very special, and we're glad to do that. But it also gives us an opportunity to use more melodies in our ever-growing repertoire here in the synagogue of things that you'll hear from time to time and say, gosh, I know where that's from. At which point you kind of double-click on that file in your head and you see just how much RAM you have available on that particular morning or evening to see how long it takes to figure out where that's from. And that's spiritual as well. Yeah, I don't know, if you're over there and I'm over here.
I think it's okay. I'll face this direction so I don't get particles in your way.
Okay.
So our first piece is going to be Adon HaSlichot. It's part of the Sephardi liturgy, and it's been incorporated, I think in recent times into our services a little bit. We did it at Slichot the last couple of years. I'll try to channel Kenner Chomsky, who, whenever we would sing this, he would talk about how, the words are just, if you have the booklet on you, I don't know if it was handed out, but if you have the booklet, it's on page 16. But if not, all you have to know is the chorus, which is Chatanu, Lefanecha, Rachem, Aleinu. Right, and it means we have sinned before you, have compassion for us, have mercy on us. And you'd think if we're singing, like we've sinned before you, have compassion on us, right? We would be kind of sad about it, but the melody is Chatanu lefanecha rachem. It's like very, it's very punchy. And Kenner Chomsky would go off on a whole thing about how, Western music has trained us to think about major keys as being happy, but it's not necessarily true. But I think there is a certain joy that comes in this high holiday season and every holiday season from sort of just knowing that we have the capacity to be forgiven and to forgive. And that even if we know we've sinned, we also have a certain amount of joy for knowing that we have a process as a community that can bring us to forgiveness.
And that we learn that lesson from non-Eastern European Jews from time to time.
That's nice. So we'll practice the chorus one time, and then we'll do the whole thing. So it goes like this. Chatanu lefanecha.
Chatanu lefanecha.
Rachem aleinu.
Rachem aleinu.
Let's get the right key. Here we go. Chatanu lefanecha.
Chatanu lefanecha.
Rachem aleinu.
Rachem aleinu.
There you go. So if you don't have it by now, you'll get it by the end of the piece, all right? Adon Haslichot Bochen Levavot Gole Amukot Dover Tzedakot Chatan Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatan Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Hadur Beniflaot Vatik Benechamot Zocher Berit Avot Oker Kelayot Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Umetiv Laberiot Yodea Kol Nistarot Kove Shavonot Love Tzedakot Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Malei Zakiyot Nora Tehilot Soleach Avonot Oner Batzarot Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Apoel Yeshuot Zofe Atidot Korei Hadorot Roche Baravot Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Shomei Tefilot Tamim Deyot Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Chatanu Lefanecha Rachem Aleinu Ya na 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 na. Hay na na ya na 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 ya ya na na ya na na ya na 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 ya na 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 ya ya na 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 I do like that tune.
I love that tune.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. So you'll hear it. We'll be inserting it into the Kol Nidre service a little bit, so you can remember that melody, look it up on Spotify, and we'll sing it again in just 10 days. 10 days, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. First day of Tishrei beginning in just a few minutes. We have time for maybe one or two more. So in the interest of doing perhaps a piece or two or a song or two from Rosh Hashannah morning, if you'd like to turn in your Machzorim to page 83, Atahu Eloheinu is one of our other choices, right, Rabbi Allen?
That's right.
So let's do Atahu Eloheinu. Part of the structure of the service on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is adding extra what are called piyutim, these rabbinic hymns that help us as we begin the Amidah to recognize not just our place in the world, but also God's majesty in the world. The idea of declaring God to be the sovereign, the melech, al kol haaretz, melech on the entire, really just everything, is a big part of our services and a big part of introducing the idea of kedusha, of sanctity, and our saying, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur morning, there are these, again, special rabbinic hymns, these piyutim that we do that introduce Kedusha. And one of them is called Atahu Eloheinu, You Are Our God. It's on page 83. And tomorrow we're going to be doing this piyut, this rabbinic hymn in English. But on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, when Rabbi Alex is leading us in Shacharit, there's a tune which we wanted to bring to this
All right.
evening as well.
So we'll launch right in, and this, again, this is a downstairs melody that you will recognize, but we've used it in a different place. And you can learn it just by repeating each phrase with the same words and same melody after us, right? So it's on page 83 if you want to follow along.
Also worth noting that the transliteration for this hymn is on the bottom left side of page 83. So if Hebrew reading, like in the moment, is less your thing, the words are there.
Right, so it's transliterated, and all you have to do is repeat after me, so there's no excuse, whether you're at home or here, not to sing,
We should
right?
be hearing every single one of you. That's right.
Okay, from the top. Atahu
Atahu
Eloheinu
Eloheinu
Bashamayim
Bashamayim
Uva'aretz
Uva'aretz
Gibor
Gibor
V'na'ara
Dahagu
Dahagu Mervava
Mervava
Usa Vayehi
Vayehi
Vetziva
Vetziva
V'nivra'u
V'nivra'u
Zichro
Zichro Lahanetzach
Olamim.
Olamim.
And then we repeat the same melody again. Tehor.
Tehor.
Einayim.
Einayim.
Yoshev.
Yoshev.
Seter.
Yitro
Yitro. Yeshua.
Yeshua
Levusho.
Levusho
Tzedakah.
Tzedakah
Ma'ateu.
Ma'ateu.
Kina.
Kina.
Ne'epa.
Ne'epa.
Nekama.
Nekama
Sitro.
Sitro
Yosher.
Yosher
Atzato.
Atzato
Emuna.
Emuna
Beulato.
Beulato
Emet.
Emet
Tzadik.
Tzadik.
Veyashar.
Veyashar
Karo.
Karo
Lekorav be'emet.
Lekorav be'emet.
Ram. Umitnatzeh.
Umitnatzeh.
Shochen.
Shochen.
Shechakim.
Shechakim.
Tolei eretz.
Tolei eretz.
Al blima.
Al blima.
Chai v'kayam.
Chai v'kayam.
Nora.
Nora.
Umarom.
Umarom.
V'kadosh.
V'kadosh.
Ayayna.
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 Extra Rabbi Rosh Hashanah bonus points to anybody who can remember what melody we also used that for in the Shabbat morning service. Kathy wants the bonus point. Oh, that's okay. You can all say it out loud. Ready? Echad, shtaim, shalosh. There you
Shochenad,
go.
right. Shochenad, Maharom, Vekadosh, right. And Shochen does appear, the word at the very bottom. I was like, oh yeah, bonus points. Shochen Shechakim.
Oh, there you go. So you get extra rabbi
There we
bonus
go.
points. Exactly. A good way to head into the new year with
That's
these
right.
extra bonus points for us. All right, that takes us to 5:30, which means that it's time for our final service of 5781 as we begin this evening's davening with Mincha, leading us out of the year that has passed. What's that?
Kathy said she's totally unprepared for
A
those.
joke about Alan Liu. There you go. There you go. The Mincha service itself get started on page 431. We're very glad that Aaron Rosenfeld is going to join us on the bima to lead us in Mincha.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yechalucha Selah.
Asher shebetecha od yalducha salam shechalo shem shem dilan da pira min chalach avar chashim chalalam va'evel Sameh chadonai l'chol nafsin zekem v'chol Ashmi tehila chadonai l'chol Hallelujah.
Tehilat Adonai Yedaber Pi, Yivarech Kol Basar Shem Kocho Le'olam Va'ed, V'anach Nenevrech Yah, Me'atavi Ad Olam.
Hallelujah.
Yitgadal V'yikadash Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
V'yalmadi V'rakiru Teviam Lech Malchutei, V'chayechon V'yomechon V'chedu Kol Beit Yisrael, V'galav Yizman Koriv, V'imru.
Amen. Yehesh merabah mevarach le'olam ve'omaya.
Yitbarach, V'yistabach, V'yitbar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalav, Shemedu Kudashah,
Brichu.
V'yelah min kol berchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, V'nechemata, Tamiram B'yolma, V'imru.
Amen. We invite those who are able to rise as the Amidah for Mincha begins aloud together on page 433 in the Machzor.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarach, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Ha'noram Ha'el Elyon, V'nei Ha'sadim Tovim V'karnei Ha'chol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot, V'nei Goel V'nei V'nechem, Amon Shmo V'yachava, Melech Ozer Fakir Moshiach Magin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Fakir Tzarah, Atah Gibor Yolam Adonai, Mechayim Eitim Atzarah V'Toshia, Mechalkel Chayim V'Chesed, Mechayim Eitim V'Rachamim Rabim, Samech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim V'Matir Asurim, Mechayim V'Mantol L'Shenei Afar, Michamo Chabad V'Rot V'Vina V'Lah, Melech Melim Chayim V'Matzmeach V'Shuha, V'Nehman Atah V'Chayot Metim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayei HaMetim. Mekadesh et Shivcha B'Olam, Kishem Shema Kishim Oto B'Shmei Maram, Kakatuv Al Yad Nevi'echa V'Kara Zeh El Zeh V'Omar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Lo Kol Haaretz Kavodo, Yimatam Baruch Yomeru. Baruch Kavod Adonai Mimkomo, U'Divrei Kodshecha Katuv Le'mor. Yimlok Adonai Le'olam Elohai Tzion, V'dor V'dor, Hallelujah. V'dor V'dor Nagdig Yod Lechal, Netzach Netzachim, Kedushat Tekah Nagdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu Mitino Lo Yamush Le'olam Va'ed, Ki Melech Gedol V'Kodosh Atah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
you have not yet completed the Amidah, please continue. The service resumes with Kaddish Shalem, page 441.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalmadi v'rakirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yamechon v'chedu kol beit Yisrael. V'galav v'zman koriv v'imru.
Amen. Yehesh Mirabba Mevarach, Elam Le'el Maya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yidadar v'yidalev v'yidalal. Shemei d'kudashah.
Richu.
Li'elah min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Damiram b'yalma v'imru.
Amen.
Tikabat zlot hon to call Yisrael. Kadama v'hon to v'shmaya v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shalom araba means Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'yal call Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Aseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal call Yisrael v'imru.
Amen. Aleinu
Shaveach Adon HaKol. V'atei k'dula l'yotzer b'reshit. Shalom asanu k'goyei haratzot. V'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adamah. Shalom sam helkeinu kahem. V'go aleinu k'kol ha'monam. V'anachnu korim. Mishtachavim u'modim. Lifnei melech. Malchei HaMlachim. HaKadosh. Baruch Hu. Shehu noteh
Shamayim
shamayim.
v'yotzei haaretz, u'moshav yekarov b'shamayim ima'am, u'shchina tezav v'govei meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, emet makenu efes zulato, k'katuv b'torato, et atayim v'ashevat levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'elohim b'shamayim imal, v'al haaretz mitachat eimod.
Akenika v'elocha Adonai.
כי בחתיך רק כל ברך תשבע כל לשון לפניך ונלני חרבי פליג בג'מי המחו שלכי ולמעט ימלך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך ונמלך
כי המלכות שלך היא ולמעט ימלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך.
אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. May be seated. Those in mourning and observing yahrzeit are invited to remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish as the 29th of Elul, and with it the year 5781 comes to a close. We observe the yahrzeit in our community of Yetta Carroll, Ruby Marilyn Moss, and Eliana Sue Sweatland. We pray that their memories always be a source of blessing. We say together, Amen. The mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam le'olmei maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Yashakach, please be seated. Yashakach to Aaron for leading us in a beautiful mincha and for continuing to be a wonderful presence with us in Minyan and leading us.
All right, we'll turn to page 2. Oh, we should probably have our costume change. We're going to change into our kittles, our special garments. So hang tight.
I won't speak for Rabbi Braver, but in addition to the spirituality that really does come with putting on a kittel, the best part of having led high holiday services for a number of years now is that it's been a long time since I've had the pressure of wearing a sport jacket for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur service.
Now we can begin. Turn to page 2. This is another Tifereth tradition that it feels like we can't start the holidays without, which is the melody for Shalom, Shalom on the top of page 2. We sing it in Hebrew, and then the English words are a little bit different than what's in your Machzor. So the English words are Shalom, Shalom to those afar, Shalom to those who are near, Shalom, Shalom to all of us on this night of the year. It means especially much when we have this year, even as opposed to last year, such a hybrid model where some who are afar and some who are near. And yet for all of you, we say shalom. We're so moved and excited and in awe to be your guides through the next 10 days, the next month, the next year in the Jewish calendar. Page 2. Shalom, shalom lerachok, shalom, shalom lekarov, shalom, shalom kulanu, amar Adonai. Shalom, shalom lerachok, shalom, shalom lekarov, shalom, shalom kulanu, amar Adonai. Shalom, shalom to those afar, shalom to those who are near, shalom, shalom to all of us on this night of the year. Shalom, shalom to those afar, shalom to those who are near, shalom, shalom to all of us on this night of the year. Yainai nanai, yanai, yanai, yainai nanai, yainai nanai, yanai, nanai, yadarai, yadarai, yanai, yanai, yanai. Shalom, shalom. Now, normally, this is when we would say, turn to your partner, schmooze, turn around to the people behind you, the people in front of you. Well, everyone who's here, turn to your left, turn to your right, look in front of you, look behind you. If it's not an empty seat, we have a problem, other than the people that you came with. So, first of all, again, to say Shana Tova to those who you came with, which is important. So turn to those who came with and say Shana Tova. Or if you're at home, even if you're sitting on the couch in your pajamas, that's fine, that's great. If you're in the middle of cooking your Rosh Hashanah dinner still, stop and say hi to someone who's next to you. And then for those who are here, just look at who's in the room. Glance and just give a little nod or a wave or a hello to someone. Maybe that person that you see at shul all the time, but it's too late to ask their name. Maybe to someone you've never met before, or someone that you love. And to those who are at home, to think about being in this sanctuary, think about the faces that you've seen here, but the faces you see elsewhere, and think about who is it that I really ought to reach out to, just to say hi, just to make that connection with this Rosh Hashanah, this Yom Kippur, this holiday season. So even if you're at home, just sort of visualize, who could I just reach out to and do a small little favor to say shalom, shalom at this time of year. Shalom, shalom lerachok, shalom, shalom lekarov, shalom, shalom kulanu, amar Adonai. Shalom, shalom lerachok, shalom, shalom lekarov, shalom, shalom kulanu, amar Adonai, amar Adonai.
Hello.
Hey, it's nice to see the bottom half of your face.
Yes, trimmed my beard and everything.
All right, we'll begin now the formal start of the Mariv service, the first service of 5782. You're invited to rise if you're able. Page 5.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני.
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
Amari varavi.
Amen.
Avat olam. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו והם נגע יומם והלילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני.
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
Yai na 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 yai na na Ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
ביום שבועות ישמעותי אשר נפלו.
ועבד אדוני לכם עבדו מכל. Adonai Elohechem emet v'emunah kazon.
We're in the middle of page 8.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לך אנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה זה לי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב וגלום יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
יין 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 גאל ישראל אשכיבן.
Pray for peace on page 9.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו
הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Turn to page 10 as we rise for the special announcement of the holiday using biblical verse, the top of page 10. תיקו בחודש שופר בכסלם וחגינים בישראל הוא משפט אלוהי יעקב.
תיקו בחודש שופר בכסל יום חגנו כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ואלמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגאלה ובזמן הקריב ואמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילא לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Continue with the silent Amidah, the first of many opportunities for our own private prayers and reflections this high holiday season, page 11. Sefer Chaim Beracha V'Shalom U'Parnasa Tova Nizacher V'Nikatev Lefanecha
אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ולשלום. יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי ניי יאי ניי ניי יאי ניי ניי. Kaddish Shalem, page 19.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ויעלמה דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו ואמרו,
Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'am Le'amaya Yitbarach
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה שמי דקודשה
Brichu
אלא לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו
Amen.
קבל צלותון ובאותון דכל ישראל קדם אבון דיבישמיה דיבישמיה דיבישמיה
Emeru.
אמרו
Amen.
יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל
Ve'emeru.
אמרו אמן עושה שלום
במרומיו
ויעשה שלום עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
You may be seated. That's your koach. We're still figuring out our maximum allowed distances. We're going to do this dance for 10 days. Shana Tova. Once upon a time, about 2,000 years ago, there lived a rabbi named Rashbi who got in big trouble when he was betrayed by a colleague for lambasting the Roman government as cruel and hypocritical. Rashbi and his son fled to a cave to hide out, where they stripped naked and buried themselves up to their necks to remain hidden. And then a miracle occurred, two actually. A carob tree sprouted up and provided food for them with the carobs that would fall to the ground, and a stream emerged and flowed by them to provide them with water. And they stayed like this, buried up to their necks, praying and studying Torah and hiding out for 12 years, this man and his son, until the Roman emperor finally died and it was safe to leave. When they emerged, they were infuriated by what they perceived as the frivolity and lack of seriousness in the people that they saw, their countrymen,
their fellow Jews who'd been living free this entire time. And they were so angry that everything they looked at would burst into flame. As punishment, because God would rather not have the world burst into flame at random moments, God sent them back into the cave for another year. When they emerged, they saw a simple Jew carrying flowers home for Friday night dinner. And they were comforted with the knowledge that the people still cared about important things like Shabbat. The end. Well, not really the end, as you'll see in a moment, but if you found this story familiar, in part it's because I told it last year. When it felt really resonant for our first pandemic holidays. We were all stuck in our own caves, even more so than now. We were all trying our best to survive. Maybe we had more canned beans than carobs, but we were all kind of buried up to our necks in anxiety and fear and Zoom and despair. And we're in a better place now, but maybe not all the way out of the cave as much as we had hoped and planned. But don't worry, I'm not going to recycle a sermon from last year, even though I am sharing a little bit of the same story. But I'm sharing this story again, in part because it does seem like we're in deja vu of pandemic world, but also because a few months ago I learned that this story has a postscript that I had never really noticed before in the Talmud. So in the postscript, it says that Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, the son-in-law of Rashbi, who we just heard about, buried up to his neck, his son-in-law heard what had happened and went out to greet him. He brought him to the bathhouse, and he was tending to his flesh. He saw that Rashbi, the man in the cave for 13 years, had cracks in the skin of his body. He was crying, and the tears fell from his eyes and pained him. Maybe, by the way, it's not clear whether this is the pain of crying or maybe even literally the pain of the salt water tears touching his broken skin and like salt in a wound really causing additional pain. Rabbi Pinchas, his son-in-law, said, "Woe is me that I have seen you like this. Woe is me that I have seen you like this." And Rashbi, his father-in-law, said to him, "Happy are you that you have seen me like this. Happy are you that you have seen me like this. As had you not seen me like this, you would not have found what you can now see in me." As had you not seen me like this, you would not have found what you can now see in me. It's a bit of a confusing response, but to translate it into what I think of plain English is, right, don't be upset, you should be glad that you're seeing me like this, because like this, cracked and broken, and having survived what I survived, that made me who I am today, and it made me what you can now see before you. In so many ways, this year feels like a redo of the one that came before, with some slight variations. Our second pandemic high holidays, we're still wearing these, we're still sitting apart, as we're poised to enter 5782 and we look toward 2022, we're still living in the world of 2020 or 2019. And though we may have emerged from the depths of the cave and maybe we're no longer buried up to our necks, since we've been bolstered by vaccination and we've all sort of individually attempted in our different ways to tip our toes back into the waters of communal life, we all carried the scars and the cracked and broken skin of the past 2-ish years. The story and the postscript offer us two approaches. One is that we can be like the son-in-law, Rabbi Pinchas, and say, "Oi, right, woe is me that I have seen you like this. Woe is me that we have to see each other like this. Woe to us to have to see our own scars after another painful year." And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Judaism is very good at woe is me, right? Oy vezmir. There's great power in being able to express our suffering and to lament and to cry out. And God knows we've earned the right to cry out. Beyond that, though, I can understand why the son-in-law says what he says. Woe is me that I have to see you looking like this. Maybe he feels like he's intruding on the private pain of Rashbi. Maybe he's not ready to see this level of vulnerability. Maybe he's afraid that Rashbi isn't really ready to be seen like this, in full view, literally quite naked in the bathhouse. But on the other hand, Rashbi's response is so poignant and so powerful. He's crying. It hurts him to cry. We know it hurts him to cry. But when his son-in-law shows him pity, he instead says, no, don't pity me. Yes, I know that this is a tough moment. But you should be happy that you're seeing me like this, because what I look like now with this cracked skin has made me who I am and who I will be going forward. It's not that Rashbi is grateful for the skin that he has. It's not as he's craving another 13-year silent meditation retreat buried up to his neck in a cave. But he's saying, look, this experience has shaped me, and I refuse to be ashamed of it. And I refuse to try and hide it. I'm going to be open about who I am now. I'm going to be open about what this experience has done to me, even if it means I'm going to be crying naked in public. Because even with that pain comes a certain happiness in being who I am now, as I've been formed by these experiences. And in living this vulnerably, I can live truthfully. So if last year's high holidays were about surviving in the cave and finding the little carobs of sustenance to keep us going during quarantine, and then trying to imagine leaving the cave, I think this year it's about the scars, right? We're not all the way out of the cave, I know that, but we can already see the effects on our skin and the cracks in our souls and the strain on our relationships and the challenges in doing the same jobs we were doing before, hybrid, virtual, back in person, maybe not, office closing, office opening. And Rashbi asks us to consider, how do we engage with the pain we've lived through, and how do we grow from that pain even as we're still crying from it? A few months ago, a friend of mine had lost her father pretty unexpectedly. And after a little while, I drove by to drop off some food and to give her a hug. And this, by the way, was in this sort of like beautiful month after vaccination and before Delta, when you could just sort of give a friend a hug and not even worry about it. Remember that? And I gave her a hug, and I said, I just want to say how sorry I am to hear about your loss. And as someone who's been through this before, I lost my mother a handful of years ago. I'm here to talk as someone who knows what this is like in my own way. And I left it at that. And that night, I saw my friend post on their social media, there's a quote, "The Dead Parents Club is like absolutely terrible, but everyone is so nice." Reading that, I flashed back to when my own mom had passed away 6 years ago, and I found myself thinking about my friends in the Dead Parents Club who showed up for me in big and small ways. One friend called me to say that she had lost her dad while she was in college, and she talked about trying to honor his memory every day, even though his memory feels more and more distant as the years go by. And another friend I hadn't spoken to in a long time wrote me a handwritten card thanking me for the small things I had done. I didn't even remember that I had done when he lost his mother when he was in college. And a week or two later, I don't know how she found out, but a cafeteria worker at the Jewish Theological Seminary, when I was going to get my lunch, said to me, "I lost my mom 20 years ago, and I still think about her every day." And each of these moments and more made me feel so seen and comforted just by showing me their own wounds and their own scars and cracks in their skin and their own tragic experiences that had shaped them. And seeing them now and witnessing their scars, I could know that this wasn't the only thing about them, but it gave me this sort of gentle push out of my own cave. We're all, whether we're here in person or off on camera at home, we're all so lucky to be part of this community, Tifereth Israel, where we know that we can show these wounds to each other and support one another and share our stories even when they're painful. And I've had the privilege as a rabbi of getting to hear so many of those stories from you in person, on Zoom, over the phone, hospitals, funerals, and so many other contexts. And I've also seen how many of us have learned and grown from experiences we would trade away in a heartbeat. And I've had the privilege to share some of my own story about losing my mother, about the ups and downs of waiting for my son's adoption, and all sorts of other things I've shared from right where I'm standing, from one-on-one conversations with many of you, and I've seen how you've treated my story with the same care that I know we try to treat each and every one of yours. But as we enter this season, we're coming into this special time with deep wounds. Some of them are the new and fresh wounds from these COVID seasons and Delta seasons. Some of these wounds are older and deeper. Some of them are just calling out and saying, I hurt, even if we haven't been able to pinpoint the source of the pain yet. And over the next few days, we're going to ask God to look at us with compassion like a loving parent. And we're going to ask God to see the brokenness and the woundedness and the mistakes and the misfortunes and the scars and the broken skin, and to still show us love and mercy. And if we expect it of God, the least we can do is commit to it in ourselves, to give it to each other and to give it to our own selves, and to have compassion for what we've lived through, what we all have lived through, and to be like Rashbi, who has the strength to say, I'm still crying, and this is painful, but I'm not ashamed. I am overjoyed to be here. And what I've lived through has made me who I am. And in the face of better or worse, I will choose better. Because I am grateful, scars and all. Shana Tova Umetuka, may we have a sweet and good new year where we can finally leave the cave and we can finally heal. A year where we're not ashamed to share what's difficult and to share that with ourselves, with God, and with one another. Shana Tova. Turn to page 24 for Kiddush. Invited to rise if you're able.
Savri Chaverai.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am v'rabamanu mikol lashon v'kidushanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom terah mikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad baruch ata Adonai melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh. A new bottle for a new year.
New bottle, new year. Great. A good vintage, too, of Manischewitz. Page 25.
Aleinu l'shabeach
Ladon hakol, latet gedula, leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chilkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechol ha'monah.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינת עזו בגובי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך כי אתנו בשמיים ובארץ, הארץ מתחתנו, לא כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהינו. כי המלכות שלך היא ולאמת מלך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Mourner's Kaddish is on page 26. All those in mourning or observing a yortzeit can remain standing as we remember this Rosh Hashannah, the yortzeits of Eli Abeles, Janice Fox, James Friedman, David L. Goldstein, Arlene Grossman, Muriel Laub, Dora Levine, Pauline Lukoff, and Saul Rabinowitz. Yehi zichronam baruch, may their memories be a blessing. You say Amen.
Amen.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah,
Amen.
ve'alma divra chirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, ve'chayechon u'vyomeichon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv, ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shemei rabbah mevorach, le'elam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imru Amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav v'yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. This is my first annual tradition every year of forgetting the extra La'ela. So I'm sorry about that, but I have some time to catch up. We'll turn now to Psalm 27, the psalm for the season of repentance. So, page 27, Psalm 27.
They must have worked on that to make sure that happened. לדוד אדוני רשמי מירה. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש, שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי. לחזות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. אחר שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. יתנני סופה יומיים. אל תסתיר פניך ממני. לו האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קבל אדוני חזק ואמץ ליבך, וקבל אדוני.
Mourner's Kaddish, page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra chirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomeichon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv, ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shemei rabba mevarach, le'elam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela, le'ela, mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimramav, uyase shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
Amen.
May be seated. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Let's see, I don't know if there's a lot of announcements other than come to shul.
Or don't come to shul.
Or don't come to shul, depending on what we've emailed you. I guess that's true. We're just very grateful, to this community for coming together and turning on a dime and making this happen in the sort of hybrid way that we, with our lay leaders and doctors in our congregation determined was safe. I just was very moved to see how many people emailed us, called us, filled out the form, sent messages saying, I'm going to take a step back to let other people come, or I'm going to only come to this service, I'm going to only come to that service, I'm going to, this, that, and the other, or I want to come on this, and we just managed to make it work so far, God willing. But I think just this community, in a really incredible way, has managed to find the way to maximize the number of people who can attend in the way they want to attend as much as possible and as safely as possible, and that's due to the work of a lot of people and to the generosity and kindness and willingness to make space and to be humble and to just go with the flow of everybody from Rabbi Skolnick, way at the top of that list, to Laura, to the staff, to the maintenance people, to the lay leaders. So just thank you for helping us to kick this off, and I'm really looking forward to the next 10 days or so and beyond.
The list, both literally and spiritually and existentially, would not exist, of course, without your incredible just organizational skill, but kindness and compassion in the way that you think about these things, too. So
thank you.
Please don't leave yourself off of set.
And my spreadsheets, of course. So if you want to see after the holidays the color-coded spreadsheet that got us to this moment, I'll show you. So, so I think I don't know if there's any other announcements at all.
No, I mean, the schedule has been sent out by email, but tomorrow, of course, davening starts a little bit earlier than usual. If you're not joining us in person tomorrow, you're invited to still join us for Tashlich, either at Franklin Park or Fenway Pond, and wish everybody a Shana Tova, but we still have Yigdal.
Yigdal, page 28.
Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza v'yeinei d'metziuto echad ve'en yachid k'yichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf ve'eino guf Lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon ve'ein reshit le'reshito Ino Adon olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato u'malchuto Shefa nevuato netano el anshei segulato v'tifarto lo kam beYisrael kemo she'od navi umabit et emunato Torah emet natan le'amoel al yad neviyo ne'eman beito lo yachalif ha'el ve'lo yamir dato le'lamim lezulato Sofe ve'yodea sitareinu Mabit lesof davar bekad mato Gomer leish chesed kemifalo Notein lerashara kerishato Ishlach leket yamin meshicheinu Niftot mechakeket Yeshuato Meitim yechayel berov chasdo Baruch adei ad shem tehilato Meitim Yechayel V'rov Chasdo Baruch Adayad Shem Tehilato.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Yes,
God, to you. God, beautiful.
Thank you. All right. We're going to do
The receiving line? I don't think we really have.
we can like wait in the distance.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's fine. don't have enough clergy in our family.
Hey, it's a reputable profession.
Absolutely, it's not bad. Thank you for all of your work today.
My pleasure.
I understand.
Happy to see that everything falls in place.
Well, that's it, but, it's not lost on me that today was a federal holiday, and
We'll make it up somehow.
I'm sure we will. All right, Juan, I'll see you in the morning.
In the morning, sir. Have a good one. I think they're all in place.